and welcome back to my channel. As you might have noticed by now, my channel name has changed from Hidden in a Book to Lunatia Books. And I will come back to this later, but first things first. If you're new to my channel, my name is Elin and I mostly talk about books and book related stuff, but I have decided not to just do that. So it will be mostly books and book related stuff, but I will take the freedom to do other things as well. So you might have noticed that there are some videos up on my channel now that seems to be a little bit old, and that is correct. That is videos that I have pulled down from another channel I had and that I'm posting here now because I don't want two channels, and it was just like a very small channel and hardly any videos anyway, so that's how things are going to be from now on. So let's just dive into the questions, shan't we? So the first question is, how are you? And I'm going to be brutally honest now. I am not doing fantastic. I am struggling with a migraine disease. You might have heard about migraines already and that I struggle with migraine attacks. And this migraine disease has gotten worse over the last few months, and I have loads and loads of migraine attacks, and it's draining and I don't have a lot of energy. And I try to save my energy for work. I have been able to take a few days off, but not too many, and May is also blessed with loads of public holidays here in Norway, so that's a good thing, I guess. So today, when I'm filming this, is a Thursday, and it's the 14th of May? 13th of May. It's Thursday the 13th of May, and we have the day off, so I am using my time to make this video. And the second question is, and now we're coming back to what I mentioned in the beginning, why did you change your username? And the main reason for that is that I kind of want to go back to, not exactly my roots, but back to things not as they used to be like, but it's connected to the past. So I have used Lunatia as a username on internet for many years. I used to have a live journal named Lunatia, I still have that, and I still try to update that now occasionally, but that's not happening very often, to be honest. Who's on live journal anymore anyway? I used to be Lunatia on IRC, I used to be Lunatia on Usenet, and I wanted to take that back. When I started using Lunatia, it was very uncommon. It wasn't exactly hard to get on the internet. It's harder now, but Lunatia Books is easier, so I'm using Lunatia Books. So also my Instagram account is now Lunatia Books, and I also have a Instagram called Lunatia Life, which is more like food and other things from my life. But not books, or some books, and a little bit of writing and stuff as well. And with that, the next question is connected, and it's, what does Lunatia mean? And to be honest, it doesn't really mean anything as far as I know. I might be wrong, it might mean something in one language or other, I don't know. I just thought it sounded nice, so that's what I went with. Luna, on the other hand, is a word that I know, and that is my favorite Italian word, and it means moon. And I love the moon. It's pretty and kind of mystic as well in a way, and it's like at night and you have the moon and it's pretty, and I just like the aesthetics of it. And I also got the question, could you explain what goth is? And many of you probably do not know this because I haven't really talked about this on this channel. I haven't really felt the need to do it, but this also brings me back to a long time ago. The fact that I've been using Lunacia for such a long time, I think I've probably used Lunacia online for over 20 years. And goth is basically a subculture. This is from Wikipedia. I'm just going to read what Wikipedia says now because it's easier. Goth is a subculture that began in the United Kingdom during the early 1980s. It was developed by fans of gothic rock, an offshoot of the post-punk music genre. The name goth derived directly from the genre. Notably post-punk artists who pre-aged the gothic rock genre and helped develop the shape of the subculture include Siouxsie and the Banshees, Bauhaus, The Cure and Joy Division. And they are all bands a lot of goths will listen to. I listen to those bands. I also listen to bands like Elusive, which was a Norwegian goth rock band. Faith and the Muse, The Mission, many bands, and I really love the goth rock music. So that's basically why I used to frequent the goth scene in Oslo back in the days. I think I went to my first Gotham Nights in 2000, March 2000, if I remember correctly. I would have gone to Gotham Nights in March 2000. I've been looking through some old pictures and I could find pictures from March 2000. And I also have pictures from when my then boyfriend and I went to Ireland in April 2000, and that was my first time in Ireland actually. And it's kind of funny to watch those pictures because I look so young, but they're really crappy digitally because I didn't take them as with a digital camera or anything. And 2000, come on. A lot of things has happened in the last 21 years. Then I got the question, what is your favorite vegan chocolate? And I must be honest and say that I don't have one. I like chocolate, but it's not my favorite sweet. I love licorice though, especially like salty licorice, which I know a lot of non-Scandinavians or non-Nordics don't like that much. But yeah, so I can't pick one vegan chocolate. I think a lot of them are not that great, to be honest. Especially if you have like the milk chocolate types of chocolate. They're normally kind of crap, to be honest. It's a little bit like vegan cheese. I find it very hard to find vegan cheese that I like. I feel like most of them honestly taste like plastic. It's my honest opinion. And I know some people like them. I'm not particularly a fan, and I used to love cheese. I was a huge cheese eater as a non-vegan or a vegetarian or pescatarian or back in the days. But that's me. And then someone asked me, could you suggest a fiction book for me? And to be honest, as a librarian, this is a question I get a lot. Could you suggest a good book for me? Could you recommend me a book? And I find this very hard if I don't have the person in front of me and I can talk to them, because recommending just any book is a bit useless to me. I mean, people are different, people like different stuff, so I would need to ask the person, what do you like? What have you read previously that you like? What sort of films do you like? TV series? Do you like standalones? Do you like series, trilogies? Do you like books that are dark, humorous? Do you like romance in them? There's all these questions you need to ask, and just recommending something like this, I don't like doing that, because not one person is the same, and it's easier if you kind of ask the person questions and kind of try to get to know them a little better, and then figure out that maybe you know about something they might like. I also use a lot of like search tools and stuff like that at work, so that also helps. Which type of books do you like to read was the next question, and I read a whole lot of different genres. My absolute favorite genre is probably science fiction, even though I don't get to read as much as I would like. I also like fantasy, I like horror, I like contemporary fiction, I read crime. Not so much romance, probably. I tend not to like a lot of romance because it's just flat. Does that make sense? But people are different, and as I keep saying, so if you like those types of books, that is great. I think that the only time I tend to like books that are kind of romance is if it is like LGBTQ+. Next question. Have you ever regretted reading a book? And if so, which one? Normally I would say that I don't regret reading a book. There are books that I disliked. There are several books that I've read and disliked, and I will never get the time back that I read them. But on the other hand, I don't really regret reading them because then I can actually have an honest opinion about them. Sometimes you can think that, oh, I will not like that book, and sometimes you're right, but a book can surprise you. So I don't think I've actually properly regretted reading any books, but I've definitely read books I haven't liked at all. I have read Rødhette, which basically means the Red Riding Hood, a crime book by Unni Lindell, which one of the things there was talking about the goth subculture as well as the LARP or live action role-playing games subculture in Norway, both subcultures that I know and has been a part of. Still kind of a goth, but not really a part of the scene anymore. But that was so far off. She had done zero research, and she kind of just used whatever assumptions that she might have heard of it. I assume the author is a she. But yeah, no, that was an absolutely horrible, horrible book. And I'm not afraid to say so, that the research was just one thing. Another thing was the fact that the language wasn't great. It wasn't particularly well written, nor did it kind of tie up all the threads at the end. So there's all these things. So yeah, that's another book I didn't like. I didn't like Ut og stjele hester or Old Stealing Horses by Per Petterson. I thought it was a big yawn. I didn't particularly like, or actually disliked, Min Kamp or My Struggle by Karl Ove Knausgård. Also a... yeah, Karl Ove Knausgård, he writes really... his language is beautiful. So it's not that, it's just the story just didn't grip me. It just didn't speak to me at all. So, but I think that I don't look down on people who likes those books, but they're just not my cup of tea. Next is, what do you think about ebooks? Ebooks are their books, and they contain what a paper book contains. There's text, words, and I have no particularly big thoughts about them other than that they're books, and I read them, and I sometimes read ebooks, and sometimes I read paper books. I think the book, it's more about the story that is told than the format. The format is unimportant. I can understand people who don't listen to audiobooks because of different reasons, but I still think all formats are valid as books. Next is, what was your last 5-star read? And to be honest, I don't really star my books. I find it very hard. I don't like starring books, so I don't know. I read lots of good books, and sometimes I don't think they're perfect, and sometimes I think they're perfect. But stars, not for me, not really. I have probably I know that I've given stars on Goodreads from time to time, but yes, I'm not a big fan of doing that myself. If other likes to do it, great, but I find it very hard, and it's like I rather distinguish them to books that I like, books that I think are okay, and books that I don't like. And that's it. Next question, where are we? Yes, what is the first book you remember from your childhood? I wish I could pinpoint this, because I can't. I can't remember a life without books. I was read for as a child. I started reading fairly early. So I don't really remember the first book. There are several books that I read as a child, or was read to as well. There's so many lovely books. And this leads to the next question, which is, can you share a childhood memory about reading and books? And there's so much to take from, because I have always had books in my life, and I thought I would share this one memory, which is very connected to using the library. I think I should talk about this, as I am a librarian. And this was when, I don't remember my age, but I wasn't very old. And I remember wanting to read 1000 a Night and borrow it from the library. And I love fairy tales, and I've always loved fairy tales from all over the world. I've read loads of Norwegian fairy tales, and I thought, why not read 1001 Night, which was, to me, fairy tales. And they were like huge books, and I took like the big book up to the counter to the librarian and said that I wanted to borrow this, and the librarian looked at me and said, so your parents, are they okay with you reading this? Are they okay with you borrowing this book? And I was innocent and naive and was like, yeah, sure, why wouldn't they think I could read fairy tales? I didn't quite understand the question, so I pretty innocently said that yes, they were okay with that, because I couldn't really fathom why they shouldn't. I think that was okay. Later in life, of course, I have realized that there are things in 1001 Night that might be a little bit, maybe not really for kids, but that, to be honest, went right over my head when I read it as a child, and I'm perfectly fine, and I thought it was fun to read, and there were things I certainly didn't understand as the kid I was, and today I would probably have read it in a different way. I certainly would. I haven't actually read 1009 since then. Probably should, but you know, there's way too many books and way too little time. And yes, so that was something, and that's a fun memory when it comes to me and reading books. How do you feel about rereading? And this question, I am sorry, Silja, I know you've tagged me for the rereading tag, and I keep thinking I should do it, but I still haven't, and I hope to get around to it at some point. But I do reread. Actually, one of the books I'm currently rereading is a reread, and it is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen that I'm rereading for the umpteenth time. I love that book. I love Jane Austen. No surprise there. So yes, I do reread. I just don't reread as much as I probably would have liked, because there's all these new books that I need to read. Yeah, so many books, so little time. So next question, what is your favorite Norwegian author and book? Oh boy, I wish I could pick one. I read Norwegian authors, there are many. There's Linn Strømsborg, that needs to be mentioned. She has read a book called Aldri, 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 Never, 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 that I really, really love. There's the Odin's Child and the Raven Rings trilogy that I love by C.D. Pettersen. There's Tor Åge Bringsværd that I hold very dear, and his books. And there's so many others. I find it very hard to pick just one. And now to the last question. What books would be on your top 10 list of best books? I don't know. I honestly don't know. My favorite book and my favorite author of all times is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. But other than that, it's very hard to pick like a top 10 list. There's so many good books out there, and there's probably books I haven't read yet that will be super cool and super nice and awesome. So, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you a top 10 list because I don't know. So, yeah, that were the questions that you had asked. I hope you found this video fun. It was fun to make. And now I need to edit it and get it up and going. And that's it for now, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.